You guys are ruining basketball and making it so that specific teams win because of your calls.
Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Ruckus with Alex Hymes. It's good to be with you. It's good to be back in studio. I've been missing being here a lot lately. I got to tell you, I've had a lot of external stuff going on, family matters and whatnot. Thankfully, everything is okay. Thank you to those who have reached out and sent me messages and warm support. I really appreciate it. I don't necessarily publicize a lot of what's going on with me personally in that sense, but you know, for those who do know me well enough and do know what's going on, I appreciate all the kind words. Thank you again for tuning in, guys. It's been a fun couple of weeks. I just spent the weekend in Miami, Florida with my girlfriend, with my father, my aunt, my grandmother. It was great catching up with everyone out there. And it was just a fun experience to be able to watch some basketball with my family, which I rarely get to do, even though I'm really the only basketball fan in my family on that side. My father was a football guy. I get all the basketball love from my mother. So, you know, I had to. And by the way, thank you again to WLXU for letting me do my thing with this program. Thank you for everyone who's been tuning in and been faithful. I got a lot of good stuff coming up for you. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it. And today, we're playing the game. Who wins? Right now, it's about 2:44 or 2:24 in Los Angeles. We got an hour and 36 minutes to game time. The first game, the real big game, the one game that matters to me, and that is, dun dun, of course, my Boston Celtics. All right, the Celtics are now down 2-1 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me first start off by saying why I am upset over game 3. All right, sure, sloppy play on the Celtics. There was a lot of shots that both shouldn't have been taken and also shots that should have gone in. And there was a lot of, oh, well, what do we do now? And leaving people wide open. But let me get to my case, all right? Hear me out. The refs from last game sucked. I think everyone knows it. We all saw it. Ticky-tacky fouls that were called against the Celtics that forced Milwaukee to go to the line an absurd 36 times. Sure, you can look at the stats and say the Celtics had 27 fouls, Milwaukee had 26. But last time I checked, I saw Giannis Antetokounmpo at the free throw line, I think it was 22 times out of the 36 shots. Mind you, that's also 5 minutes of the game in that fourth quarter that were just dedicated to him being on the free throw line, right? The Celtics got screwed by the referees. I can't put it better than that. So now we have to assess what they did wrong in game 3 to get these predictions for game 4, which is coming up in only an hour and 35 minutes now. So why Boston lost game 3? I think it's simple to say, as I said, the reffing sucked. But overall, it goes even deeper than that. The Celtics put up a decent defensive effort for 3 quarters, or I'd say 2.5 quarters, right? But then things broke down. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, of all people, turned into the ultimate floor spacers. You have to respect their shots enough, come out and defend them, and what ended up happening? Guys like George Hill were able to drive down the lane for a wide open dunk, making him look like he had just gotten out of college again. I'm sorry, but George Hill getting a dunk like this during a game, a playoff game, should not be happening, especially if you're Boston. So, what was that lineup? A small lineup. You ask, who do they have as a big man? They had Big Al playing at that moment. They had Marcus Smart on the floor. Marcus Morris. Well, they need to utilize Aaron Baines. Yes, the Red Rocket. I'm saying it here right now. Aaron Baines is not only a great defender and also a floor spacer, he is the perfect guy to have down low to clog up the middle to force the guards to try and think twice when they want to drive to the basket and get an easy layup or that George Hill dunk, which I still can't believe happened. The Celtics really needed to step up defensively, and thankfully this leads me to my next point. They're getting back probably the best defender in terms of being a guard in the Eastern Conference, and that is Marcus Smart. Yes, praise the heavens. Marcus Smart, the heart and soul of this Celtics team, the guy who is the longest tenured Celtic right now, is back. We just got the news in, I think it was 30 minutes ago, if I have my timing right, that Marcus Smart will return for Game 4 after his torn oblique injury. We got the reports yesterday saying that he may or may not be able to play. He participated in full contact activity, full contact drills and practice in the 3-on-3s, but now here we are. And Marcus Smart really does make that big of a difference for all those who think otherwise. Just as those Milwaukee fans would say, oh, if we had Malcolm Brogdon, this series would be over. Well, now that we have Marcus Smart, this changes the series. Marcus Smart really does add a big difference. Now let's go into it, shall we? Marcus Smart, one of the best guard defenders, and also one of the guys that you can pretty much throw on anyone, similarly to how Pat Beverly does it, and he'll be a pest. He's the guy that gets into your head and that also emotionally brings the team together. So Marcus Smart on the floor gives you another person to throw at Giannis, to piss him off a little bit, get in his head, make him think twice about what he's trying to do, to get into Middleton's head, which is really what we need right now. Because if what we get down to it, Giannis is going to go to the line. He's also going to get his touches. He's going to make his baskets. He's going to get the 3 strides straight to the basket and get that wide open dunk or contested dunk, whatever way you want to cut it. There is no chance that we stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. We can only try and limit him to some degree. But what we can do is we can get all those complementary players like George, like Mirotic, like Pat Connaughton. Excuse me. Connaughton, by the way, I'm not going to even go into it because of how upset I am. But guys like that, who are the complementary players that these guys dish it out to perfectly, which Middleton and Giannis have become the perfect players to do so with, we need to limit them and force Giannis, specifically Giannis, to become an offensive nightmare. And yeah, I know, kind of strange that I'm saying that. Well, if we make him take each shot, make each possession that much more difficult for him to pass it out to someone else, well, he's going to take bad shots, and that's what we want. Giannis is not Damian Lillard. He does not have that range. He does not have that green light from every angle. We know that. So what do? We make Giannis take the worst shots he can possibly make. We don't give him the ability to pass it out to Mirotic for a corner 3. We don't let him get the fast break, go down, and right when he's about to lay it up, throw it back out to Middleton, who steps into an open 3-pointer and knocks it down like they did in the third quarter. Having Marcus Smart back gives the Celtics another defender to throw at each one of these guys on a different defensive possession, pest them, get into their head. You know, just like that scene in Family Guy where Peter looks into Lois's head and it's, I'm a tumor, 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 I'm a tumor. Well, Marcus Smart is back. And to me, that is going to be the biggest shift in this series. The Celtics are still on home court. They were able to steal one in Milwaukee. Sure, Milwaukee won one on the parquet floor, but the Celtics now have an advantage. They get the best defender as a guard in the Eastern Conference back at the perfect time when they need him the most. Now, aside from the defensive stuff, we got to get to the offensive things. And that, the 2 biggest X factors for me, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, Kyrie Irving is going to get his touches. He's going to score, especially after having a game 3 like he did and being how upset he was with the reffing and making it clear he was annoyed. That man's going to go off. I was about to say O-U-F-F. Wow. O-F-F off. Yes. Kyrie Irving is coming tonight. And you know what that means? We need the second player. We need that secondary guy. We need the guy who is averaging 15 points per game in the playoffs so far, but is only averaging 9 points per game in this series in particular, and that is Jason Tatum. Milwaukee has figured out how to force Jason Tatum to be a bona fide jump shooter. He's practically turned into the guy that you know is going to do a catch and shoot, or he's going to dribble into a fadeaway, or he's going to try and drill up for an open 3. Well, what do we need? When you're not making shots, you drive to the basket, you kick it, you make your teammates better while simultaneously forcing them to defend you going to the rim. Tatum is a long cat and can make it to the rim pretty quickly. He, of all people, can get fouls called against the opposing team while he's going for shots. So what do? Make Jason Tatum drive to the basket, get those open looks, make sure that when he's on a fast break that he doesn't stop and go for a J. Make sure that he goes straight to the basket. Push, get fouls called on Milwaukee. That's the one thing that Tatum can do. That's what you do when you're playing ball and you're not making shots. You do what you know you can do best. That's almost a sure thing. You get yourself in the rhythm. And Jason Tatum needs to learn from the mistakes that he's made in these last couple of games and start doing what he did against Indiana, who, in my in my estimations, has a better defensive job on Tatum than Milwaukee can do against Tatum. I think Tatum will step up tonight. I really do. And I think that this game is going to be the biggest factor in this series. Because if Boston loses tonight, they're still going to come back and win in 7. I'm making that very clear. But tonight is the biggest game of the series because if they win tonight, then you know what's coming for Game 5. Boston is ready. Paul Pierce has said it. He said the Celtics are going to win in 6. I haven't wavered on that. I still believe that they will win in 6. We still have a lot to do, but this Celtics team can pull it together. And the last thing I will note is for my biggest X factor is the man down low. That's Big Al. Al has been the most consistent player probably since we acquired him, to be quite frank. Big Al has been a guy who's a 15-point, 8 rebound, couple assists, good court vision, and can space the floor perfectly. And what has he done this playoff run? Done pretty much that. He's been an ultimate floor spacer. He's been a guy that can be the low post scoring presence that the Celtics need, and he's got great court vision, so when guys cut off of screens, he gets them to dime right then and there. Big Al is one of the best players the Celtics have offensively, especially in this series when we need low post scoring, and a guy that can spread the floor. So running a lineup with him and Baines, that's the perfect combination of 1-2 punch that can spread the floor from both big to big while also creating open lanes for these guys to drive in when they're coming off of pick and rolls and screens. To me, the Celtics have tonight's game. So my prediction for tonight is the Celtics pull it out. Do I think it's a blowout game? No. I think this is a close game on the parquet floor within an 8-point game. But I think tonight, they learned from their struggles in Game 3 by avoiding getting ticky-tacky calls from the refs, and if the NBA does and knows anything, they will probably tell the refs not to call all the ticky-tacky calls like they did last game because they want to make as much money. The NBA is a business, people. They're not going to make the same calls they did in Game 3 in Game 4 because they know most money can be made by these teams going the distance, and it gets a lot more energy and a lot more views if they do. But I do believe the Celtics pull out Game 3. Next game! Golden State and Houston. Okay, the series that I thought I wanted to be the Western Conference Finals, but here I am, and I couldn't be happier that they're in the semis. So for me, I'm watching the game the other night. Harden's doing his thing, Gordon's doing his thing, and I'm like, Curry's injured. Deja vu all over again. Yogi Berra. Look it up, people, if you don't know who that is. Great quote. Anyway, my point being, Houston was in this situation last year, right? We all remember this. Last year, they were all but assured to win that series because Curry was out with an injury. Here they are again. They won the other game, down 2-1. And what's going on? Curry injures his middle finger on his offhand. Now, granted, he's not out. He's not missing games. But how did Curry finish last game? 3 of 13. That's uncharacteristic of Steph Curry. So, here we sit. Stephen Curry has an injury. And what does this mean for Houston? They got a shot. A better shot than they did before. Each game has been decided by at least 4 to 6 points at most. Meaning that we're 3 games in and it's a combined loss total of 15 points. So it's been a close series the entire time. This has not been a series where you have 2 close games and then a couple blowouts here and there. No, this is going to go the distance in terms of being a close series. And I love it because we get to see the 2 teams that went at it last year go at it again and really figure out who has the better team. So, Curry's injury. That means Houston has a better shot than they did before. Especially since now that Harden's locked in on all cylinders. Gordon may not be scoring 30 again, but he sure is ready to go. And CP3, not going to be dropping 20, 25 points, but the man will drop 18 and guard Curry. And now with that injury, CP3 is going to have a little bit of an easier job trying to guard him. The only thing that matters now is if Curry's healthy enough. And yes, I know that sounds crazy, but Stephen Curry needs to be healthy. He is the engine of this team, people. If Curry is not healthy, the Golden State Warriors do not make it past the Houston Rockets, nor do they make it to the NBA Finals or the Western Conference Finals, period. Stephen Curry is the engine that makes the Warriors run, people. And at the end of the day, yes, he is injured. So this means Houston has a great shot. But for me, I think the biggest X factor is actually someone who's being underutilized, and that makes a difference. And that man is the man that came in to fill the role of Clint Capella while he was down. Kenneth Faried has barely seen any minutes in the playoffs. He had 5 minutes the other game, and we've barely seen him because we got the presence of Nene supposedly coming back to bolster their lineup, which this is no slight against Nene, but when you have Kenneth Faried, who is basically Clint Capella just for $95 million less, run with the guy. Faried ended his season with Houston averaging 12.9 points per game and 8.4 rebounds per game on 24 minutes per game. All right, people, those are real statistics. That's insane. They can do this. If they utilize Faried more so than Nene and throw him against the guys that Golden State has. Mind you, with Cousins down, that means the Warriors are relying on Bogut, Looney, and Draymond, all of which I'm pretty sure, given Capella's giving him run for money, damn it, Kenneth Faried can do the same thing, if not a better job, because he's ready, available, and he has the hunger to do it. Kenneth Faried is being underutilized sorely. And Houston, although they have won the last game, they need all the firepower they can get. So giving the minutes split between the guys might actually be to their benefit. Who knows? Kenneth Faried is a great player, and I said he was the best midseason pickup I've seen in years. And granted, he was. But you haven't seen him in his full effect in this series yet. Juggling both bigs will be a big, big boost to Houston's offense. And given Curry's injury, the reason I haven't gone too much into Golden State's side of things is because they really are only focused on one man, and that's Steph Curry. Everything else will fall into place. Kevin Durant's going to score his 40. The man's averaging ridiculous amounts in this playoff run no matter what. So that really doesn't make a difference. It's all about Steph and Curry. So if Curry's not healthy enough to go, while Houston has all their guys ready to go, if not ready to get more guys that they have to boost their lineup and boost their scoring ability and boost their low post presence and push them even more offensively, man, Golden State's in a world of hurt. But for tonight's game, I'm going with the Houston Rockets, and I'm going with them winning by 5 points. I think that Curry's injury will nag. I think Stephen Curry will get even more nagged by the fact that Chris Paul is defending him. And I think that the biggest difference for this series is the fact that Houston has yet to unleash the manimal from the bench. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but we're going to see this happen and play out in real time, people. It's nuts. And I think the last thing I will say about this is the fact that Houston can actually win the series. It's not far-fetched at all, right? It's not far-fetched. We saw what they were able to do last year, and now given they have everyone healthy and available, and Golden State's now kind of depleted similar to how they were last year, I think the balance kind of shifts in Houston's favor. Do you agree? What do you think? Oh, wait. I guess you'll see this after the game. Who knows? But people, don't forget to check out my Instagram at Hymes World. Don't forget to check out Facebook at Alexander Hymes. Don't forget to check out Twitter at Alexander_Hymes. If you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe and get that bell ringing notification signed up, because we love what we're doing here. It's really rough on me and my soul when you don't really give me a love back, because it makes me want to cry and sleep alone at night thinking about my Celtics losing tonight. But knowing that Marcus Smart is back, that ain't happening, baby. The last thing I want to talk about today is actually nothing to do with sports. But because everyone is in the Game of Thrones mode, and just like I am, I got to talk about it. The best show on television. One of the best shows on television. One of the best shows I've ever seen. Some of the best acting I've ever seen. And it's from HBO, but it's not Game of Thrones. It's what comes on right after it. And yes, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know how damn good of a show it is. And that is Bill Hader's Barry. For those who don't know, Barry is a show about a hitman played by Bill Hader who comes to Los Angeles to do some jobs, and then along the way, he figures out that he doesn't love what he's doing, and he wants to become an actor. So he's juggling a life where he's not supposed to be seen, noticed, or known at all, while trying to enter a life that gives him pleasure and enjoyment, that he gets thrusted in the starlight. Well, how do you balance that, you say? You got to watch the show. But my point being is, the reason I bring this up is that Barry is probably the best show on television. And I know that sounds crazy because there's so many other shows that you can bring up. Empire, Power, Game of Thrones, all of these shows, especially from networks that are giving you such real stuff like HBO, Starz, Cinemax, Showtime. But Barry, honestly, is one of the best shows on television. And the only reason why it's not as highlighted right now is because of Game of Thrones being on right before it. So do yourself a favor, people. Stop right after Game of Thrones. Think for a moment. Do I have time for another show? Just 35, 36 minutes just to watch it. Give yourself a chance. Watch Barry. You'll love it. I promise you. This is the best acting job I've seen from an actor in so long. Before, I used to think of Bill Hader as just the comedy guy. The guy who was in the movie with the comedian that steals all of her jokes and really isn't that funny. I can't think of her name right now, but I'm sure I'll add it right into the credits after I do this editing. But my point being is that I thought of him one way. This show has me thinking about him in an entirely different light. His portrayal of being a war veteran, a war hero, coming back and entering a life that he really didn't want to enter but had no one else around him to show him otherwise and to tell him that it was wrong, is one of the most crazy stories because it makes the concept of being a hitman so real, and it shows you the real side and the real emotion behind being someone in that dark life. And they portray it super, from what I could garner, accurately. From what I don't know what being a hitman is like. Watching the movie Hitman, which was absolutely god-awful, still makes me wonder what being a hitman would like. But this show shows you the reality of what it could be like to be a hitman in a specific situation. How relatable it is. Showing how human he is, while also simultaneously showing how inhuman his actions can be and how not aware what he's doing is in the pollution he's creating in terms of emotion and distraught. It's such a crazy dynamic that leaves me sitting there glued to the screen without really wanting to look away at any point. So if you have the time, people, give yourself a chance and watch Barry. I can't tell you enough how much I love that show. But getting back to my point about today's basketball, today's games, it's going to be great, people. We got the Celtics, Bucks. We got the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. I have the Celtics winning tonight in a pivotal game 4 where they are down 2-1. And hopefully, let me give this, I got to take a moment to say this. I'm sorry. The reffing for that game was absolutely garbage. To the refs that were a part of that game, and I forget the name of the crew, I remember seeing the announcement for it, and the funny thing about that announcement was Celtics fans were worried. They said, oh boy, these are who are officiating. I think it was a clutch points type of post from one of the accounts. I believe it was Celtics Insider on Instagram. And mind you, that officiating job was absolutely terrible. We complain about LeBron James getting ticky-tacky fouls all the time in the playoffs. Giannis Antetokounmpo got those fouls. The officiating crew needs to stop being idiotic. They need to stop calling every little play. Just because he's 7 feet tall, he's a Greek freak, he's athletic, he's long, he's going to get to the basket, doesn't mean every time he gets lightly touched on the arm, it's a foul, damn it. That means he is getting all that contact because of how big he is. It only makes sense. It's logic. If he was short like Bledsoe, you'd notice it more because he'd get pushed. But because he's Giannis Antetokounmpo, 7 feet tall, takes 3 strides to the rim, means he's going to get the damn foul every time? No, that is not how basketball works. That is not why you get paid. You are ruining a series by allowing crappy fouls to be called on every damn possession, adding 5 minutes of a game dedicated to watching him shoot free throws that he shouldn't be shooting in the first place, while fans get annoyed, go up to get a cup of coffee and get food, come back and by the end of the game realize, wait, they're up by 15 points because they are getting all the free throws in the world while the Celtics are not getting a single one. I can't tell you how many fouls were called that were non-calls or just completely dumb fouls that Milwaukee was lucky to get in their favor. To those refs, as a Celtics fan, I am telling you right now, don't do it. Don't do it. And if you do, I'm watching. I will promise you tomorrow, or actually even tonight, during the game, if I see those fouls, and I'll make sure to check the officiating crew because I don't want to get it mixed up. If it's a new crew tonight, I have no problem with that. But specifically to the crew that did it last game, you guys are awful. You guys are ruining basketball and making it so that specific teams win because of your calls. And last time I checked, there were refs that did that. Oh, that's right, the Sacramento series with the Lakers. Betting was made against with those refs, right? I believe that they placed money on it and they swayed games in their favor for that. Well, maybe there needs to be an investigation check because last time I checked, those fouls were absolutely terrible. So thank you again for everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Don't forget, again, to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, again, at Alexander Hymes. And also, don't forget to ring that bell notification if you want to see more of what we're doing. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, not just show stuff, but videos and trailers for projects that I'm doing on the side. And also, don't forget to follow at Alexander Hymes on Instagram. Don't forget to like at Alexander Hymes on Facebook. Don't forget also to follow Alexander_Hymes on Twitter. Also check out my LinkedIn, all my projects, people. You get it already. I don't have to tell you enough. And stay tuned for all the crazy stuff I have coming up in terms of contests. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one.
Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.